Muito obrigado. I'm going to deliver this speech in English language for all the online attendees. The point today, where can I see my presentation? Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to talk today about innovation in Airbus. So quick introduction of the company, Airbus, and we like to call ourselves as an international pioneer. Why? Because we are a commercial aircraft manufacturer with two divisions, Defense and Space and Helicopter Division. Just to provide you with very quick figures about the group, Airbus, as aircraft manufacturer, has delivered already more than 12,400 commercial aircraft, more than 12,000 helicopters. We are the second largest space company in the world. We have in self-research and development more than 3 billion euros every year. And we contribute significantly to the innovation ecosystem with more than 37,000 patents and a significant reduction of CO2 emissions up as of today. Just to provide you some references about the volume of the company. Also about the origin of the company, we are an European company that has become truly international. It means that we have, as of today, around 180 locations, factories around the world, and we have in our supply chain more than 12,000 direct suppliers. Just to provide you a reference about the European company that has become truly international. Why innovation in aviation? To frame this discussion, let me share with you some comments about what aviation means in our world and why aviation is a driver of our economy. Aviation, and this what I'm going to tell in the coming minute, is pre-COVID scenario, but you will understand the future after that. Aviation is moving more than 3.6 billion passengers a year and is supporting more than 72 million jobs in the world. If we are talking about the long-term strategy, if we are talking about the growth in the industry, as of last year, 2019, we can say that there are around 40,000 aircraft to be delivered in the coming 20 years, and with a volume, market volume around $5 trillion. That's why the aviation is a driver of the economy. Talking about that today in the times of the COVID is a little bit strange. But what I want to share with you is a message about the resilience of the industry. Of course, we all understand and assume that COVID is by far the biggest crisis in aviation since the Second War, but also we understand that over the last 50 years, the aviation has been extremely resilient to the crisis. If we look at the oil crisis, the Gulf crisis, the Asian crisis, the SARS, the September 11, all of these crises had an impact. But as you can see in this trend, the impact has been limited. Now with COVID, the impact will be for sure higher, but we are confident that in the mid-long term, we will come back to the previous figures and the growth path. What are the challenges? What are the challenges of the aviation? There are plenty, but we can summarize in two challenges. One is how to reduce the environmental footprint, and another one is how to have a smart and sustainable mobility in the future. This is not new for us. This is not new at all. We have been doing that for decades. If we take as reference the last 60 years, the aviation has already achieved significant improvements. As an example, in the 60s, the fuel burn in the aircraft has been reduced 80% if we consider the fuel burn per seat. Also in terms of noise, we have reduced significantly at 75%. But this is not enough. The ambitions and the challenge for the future are there and extremely significant for the time being. It means that, as referenced in the year 2000, when these targets were set, we have a commitment with the improvement of the challenges to come in the year 2050 with an additional reduction of 75% of CO2, 90% in NOx, and 60% in noise. In order to achieve all these improvements, we need innovation. What does it mean for us? What does it mean for a group like Airbus, technology and innovation? We focus innovation from two different perspectives. We have two types of innovations that are comprised in incremental and disruptive. Why we need incremental innovation? Because we have an existing line of products that needs to be developed, needs to be marketed, and needs to be used by the society. Let's put an example, the A330. The A330 is one of the best, everybody assumes today that is one of the best flying machines of the history. We developed the A330neo. The neo is bringing significant advantages compared to the A330. For instance, 14% of reduction in fuel consumption. This is significant. Advanced range, new features. This is incremental, and this is needed today. But look at this flying car, the Vahana. This is a flying prototype, a technology demonstrator that is developed with our colleagues of AQ in the Silicon Valley. Is self-pilot, it's all electrical, it's sense and avoid, and it's designed to change the way of urban air mobility. We, from Airbus, we are tackling both types of innovation to support and increase our current line of products and to go together with the evolution of the technology for a new disruptive products. What means innovation at a glance in Airbus? We have 5 main pillars. One is electrification. Another one is autonomy, connectivity, advanced materials, industry systems, and under construction, we are also analyzing artificial intelligence and quantum technologies. I will spend some minutes to develop some of these pillars we have in innovation. Electrification. Why electrical flights? Why electrical platforms? Well, first of all, because this is a way to reduce the environmental footprint, and we discussed before about that. This is a clear target. But with electrification, on top of sustainability and emissions, we are talking about rethinking flight. What does it mean? Rethinking flight is think again about design of a platform of an aircraft, but it's also rethinking again about the life cycle cost of our products. We need to reduce the life cycle cost of the products. Not only that, rethinking flight means think again about the infrastructure that is needed to accommodate aircraft, airports, landing platforms, etc. And electrification is also intended to do that. And of course, improve mobility. We believe that mobility, urban mobility in many places is getting at the limit of the collapse. Many cities are really busy with normal mobility. Urban air mobility is bringing the advantage of improving our cities and improving the life of the citizens, considering the third dimension that we can cover both for passengers, cargo, and other missions in a very effective and societal improvement way. As an example, we are developing and we are driving some technological flying demonstrator. We are developing improved urban mobility concept with some demonstrators. For instance, as I mentioned before, the Vahana. The Vahana, it's already flying. It started to fly in the year 2018. And the Vahana is one passenger self-piloted platform that it's used to prove a lot of technologies that in the future will be implemented in flying taxis and flying personal vehicles. After that, we started to fly what we call City Airbus. City Airbus is also a technology flight demonstrator. In this case, it's remotely piloted, it's not self-piloted. It's also full electrical, it's vertical takeoff and landing, and this is intended to have in the future a more volume production up to 4 people in order to facilitate commuting and movement intra-cities and in the nearby, in the region, to facilitate the local transport. We are working also in some other concepts. For instance, we are working on new configurations of aircraft. Here you have an example of the Maverick Project. The Maverick Project, this is a small prototype. You might have seen that in the news recently, in the specialized news about that. We target with new configuration, new shape, flying wings, to reduce 20% of the fuel consumption. These configurations is one alternative for the future of aviation. More recently, some days ago, you could also see in the news that Airbus has launched a new project. It's called Zero E, Zero Electrical. This is a new concept we want to develop. We are talking about platforms, aircraft that are using, instead of traditional hydrocarbons, we are talking about hydrogen-powered aircraft. This is a project that we are initiating now with a clear target of having this entry into service in 15 years, for the year 2035. When we are talking about hydrogen fuel, we are talking about introducing that in a smaller aircraft, turboprops, less than 100 passengers. We are talking about new concept, blended wing body, as I mentioned before. We are talking also in the future to have that on board of bigger airplanes like turbofans, considering storage and usage of hydrogen as fuel. We consider that the hydrogen, the capacity to produce energy, is one of the best available today. And because of that, we want to explore and we want to make this as one way of propulsion for the future of the aviation. Some words about autonomy. Autonomy for Airbus is not an end at itself. We are not running after autonomy. Autonomy is a means to achieve 2 main targets, which is connectivity and security of people. Connectivity is today a key driver. Security has always been a key driver of aviation. If autonomy is helping us to achieve those targets, we embrace autonomy. When we are talking autonomy, we are talking also about new concepts. Most of our platforms today, we have autonomous systems. If we talk about space launchers, satellites, drones, these systems, they have already autonomous systems. But we are pushing about more autonomous aircraft in order to target a very ambitious challenge today, which is the single pilot operations of commercial aircraft. And this is a target that not only justified, but pushed and forced by some of the world megatrends. We know today that demographics, the growth of the world population is increasing. There are today more than 40 cities with more than 10 million inhabitants. Until COVID, we always said that the passengers traffic is multiplied by 2 every 15 years. And this is, on the one hand, a huge opportunity and business for the industries. But also, it is a huge risk considering that the workload for the users, for the pilots, for the controllers is increasing. So, if autonomy is de-risking the whole system, we have to face this situation and we have to implement as much autonomy as this is improving the safety of the aviation and alleviating the workload of the specialists, pilots, controllers, etc. If we talk about some applications in cargo or in intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, autonomy is not only autonomous flight. We're not talking only about a platform that can fly alone. We are talking about some ways of working that can alleviate and improve the integration and the transfer of information. For instance, if we talk about satellites or drones, why not a satellite that from an autonomous way is able to identify with pictures or in the future which videos are useful or not and send only to the receiver the videos and the pictures that are really useful? Why not satellites to talk to each other and decide who is doing what, saving time, saving efforts, saving transfer of data, etc. This is autonomy also for us. Development of other applications, automatic taxi takeoff and landing demonstrators. We are developing, we have demonstrators like the ATOL I mentioned that is covering the 3 phases of flight, taxi, takeoff and landing. Why? Because these activities can be done autonomous, alleviating the workload for the pilot. Why not to investigate that? Here you have some examples from our demonstrator about identification of obstacles and supporting and easy the operation. What happened with the commercial aircraft? Of course, the number of crew on board has been evolving along of the maturity of the aircraft and the aviation industry. If we are thinking about the past, the C-141, we have 4 people on board. If we talk about the DC-8, we had 3 people on board. If we talk today about an A320, the most successful flying machine ever, we have 2 pilots on board. In the future, we are targeting single pilot operation. This is a strategic decision that could change significantly the ecosystem of the aviation. We are targeting that now. Connectivity. Connectivity is around today the way of living of the society, of the persons. It cannot be out of the way of living of the aviation. When we are talking about connectivity, we are not talking only about connecting networks. We are not talking only about connecting people also. We are talking also about an experience for the passenger and a way to improve the business and the functioning of the airlines and the customers. We are talking about MRO. In previous panel, we talked a lot, the colleagues before, about MRO. Why not using the connectivity to send a lot of data from the platform, from the aircraft to ground, take preventive measures for MRO, anticipate any action on ground, etc. How to improve, how to improve the experience of the passenger on board, how to provide them with an ecosystem where being on board is not considered as a waste of time, but a way of moving, but keeping your normal activities. This is what we are trying to do now, also improving that for the cabins in the future. And this is the commitment of Airbus, to work together with the authorities and the society to achieve all these targets. And you can be sure that when the COVID is out, we will keep on this track and we will come back to the growth of the aviation and the industry. Thank you very much.